Hey guys, Dantix here, bringing you a preview of Watch Dogs Legion, which is the third installment of the series by Ubisoft. I have to say, I went into this with no expectations. I had played an early build way back in 2018 at E3, but I didn't play much of 1 or 2. Honestly, they just went on my radar. The radar is detecting multiple bogeys now with Cyberpunk among them, but I'm pleased to report that Watch Dogs Legion is flashing kind of off to the right of it. It has the same theme and setting as Watch Dogs 1 and 2, a London GTA style game with almost everything able to be hacked, but Ubisoft Toronto have thrown in a little twist. It's now GTA crossed with Pokemon, and that's drastically improved the formula. The build I got to play was limited to 1080p and a lower frame rate, as it had to be streamed to me remotely using a program called Parsec, so the game looks better than what you're seeing here. I was chucked into the world with no tutorial and no prior knowledge to what was really happening in the story. I was lost in the amount of toys I had to play around with in this sandbox and wanted to test things out, so keep that in mind when watching the footage. In Watch Dogs Legion, you're the underground resistance DedSec, fighting an oppressive state-hired band of mercenaries. It reminds me a little of V for Vendetta in its state of rebellion against a country that just feels wrong. When I say you're the resistance, I mean all of it. You have to recruit and utilize agents, each with their own personality, looks, backstory, and most importantly, set of skills, in order to take and complete missions. You start out with a few randomly generated agents and can set out to recruit more almost straight away. Everyone in London can be scanned. By scanning them, you reveal who they are, their job, how much they like DedSec, and what their abilities are. It's all randomly generated, so therefore there are people who just plain suck. For example, those who are unathletic, making it so they can't vault or sprint. Some even may have a passive called Doomed, which makes them spontaneously die in before someone finishes a run with all old or doomed members. There is something kind of hilarious about kicking ass as a granny. Then there are some with extremely good abilities. Some have access to a powerful weapon, for example an AK-47, which outclasses the stock 3D printed weapons your crew have access to, or a unique vehicle like the Spy's James Bond inspired Aston Martin that comes equipped with a stealth system and rockets that can and will blow you up if you misfire them, to a medical passive that lets them revive your injured teammates faster for simply being recruited. The same passive will also let you enter restricted medical areas without raising the alarm. In a way, the game is like Pokemon. You're on the hunt for interesting humans you can catch and use to battle. Catching them is quite different though. You can't just abduct them in a ball and expect them to be cool with their new dogfighting lifestyle. Instead, you have to talk to them, see if anything is troubling them, and they usually give you a mission like helping them find their brother or finding evidence that clears their name, after which they'll join a DedSec and you'll have a new member you can swap into or out of when you're out of combat or out of mission areas. Sometimes though, they'll dislike a DedSec, in which case it's not hopeless. You can deep scan them, an ability you can unlock. This will reveal habits they have, like visiting a pharmacist often. You can head over to that pharmacist and discover a hook to change their opinion of you. This can even be utilized with the pseudo law enforcement around, letting you use their status to walk through the front door of places you shouldn't be. I have to admit, I spent the majority of my play session mucking around recruiting agents, walking through the beautiful streets of London, spying on the lifestyle of its civilians, even found a community manager that looks similar to the one that was hosting the gameplay session I was a part of. Each section of the city is split up into districts, like the city of Westminster here. As you can see, you can liberate the area by completing particular missions. You get a powerful recruit as a reward, like the spy, beekeeper, or getaway driver. When you get them, they'll be randomly generated, but will always have powerful abilities. I got an Irish dark-skinned James Bond and I loved him. I was sad I couldn't bring him over to my version at release. However, this raised the question, why would you use or recruit anyone else? Well, you can find spies out in the world, they're just incredibly rare. I found another during my playtime and even found another rare recruit, a hypnotist, able to turn enemies to your side temporarily, which is incredibly strong. I used him to turn a target's ally against him, which gave me enough time to hack his phone and gather the data I needed, as well as leave without using lethal force. Most unique professions will have unique animations. So when taking down enemies, he used his hypnotic powers. The EMT used defibrillators to take down targets. I'm getting sidetracked, just like when I was playing the game. The point is that although you have a guaranteed way to get unique professions as an agent, it doesn't mean you'll need them or want them. Each can bring a new way to approach a mission, or, like the barrister, they're just good to have on your team as they can reduce the sentence of your agents who have been arrested. Just don't punch them in the face when you Alt-Tab. It remains unseen if this system is a novelty that will get old fast when playing the game legitimately, but I do foresee a problem in that once you find agents you like, there's little reason to look for more or replace them. However, it was explained to me that you can play on an Iron Man mode of sorts, where instead of your agents getting injured or arrested, they can permanently die. This will force you to be more cautious and develop stronger bonds with your members, but will also make the recruitment process more meaningful. What are you actually recruiting them for though? Well, there's a storyline that I won't go into. Suffice to say, you've been framed and you're pissed. I finished some of the mainline story missions and they didn't blow me away. Your typical go here and do this kind of thing, but it was entertaining and I did find myself wanting to know more about the situation based entirely on the fact that the gameplay was so enjoyable. In one mission, I completely avoided having to fight the bad guys because the cops chasing me just so happened to get mixed up fighting them instead, and it distracted them long enough for me to steal the data and leave. In another, I completed it almost entirely by sneaking around using a spider bot. There's a lot of potential to be creating your own story, since there are a lot of ways to approach a situation. You have a host of gadgets and upgrades you can utilize on all your agents. Once unlocked, they can be equipped by any agent. For example, the spider bot, missile drone, or the stealth system are gadgets. Each agent can have one gadget equipped and can switch them in and out when out of hostile areas. So equip what you need for the job ahead. Maybe you need to stealth in, or maybe you prefer the extra firepower. You can unlock and upgrade these gadgets with a resource you find around the city. I immediately bought the Spiderbot Double Jump, which came in handy multiple times during my playthrough, getting places I shouldn't be. I mentioned GTA, and Watch Dogs Legion shares a lot of similarities with it. In its open, explorable city, in ways you can accept missions, how it's played third person, how you can evade the law, or how it's a sandbox of sorts. But the gameplay also has its differences. For one, it has a large focus on dynamic hacking. You can hack almost anything in the world. For example, if you hold down the button, you can control any car to go forward, left, right, or back. You can disable security and much more. Another difference between GTA and Watch Dogs is that you can't really run and gun. It's much easier to be stealthy and utilize your hacking abilities. For example, scanning, finding cameras, taking them over, surveying the area, setting up traps, unlocking doors, sending in a spider bot, or sneaking through yourself. Most of your agents will die quickly to sustained fire, and with your basic 3D printed pistol and SMG, you won't kill fast enough, or really at all since they're non-lethal, when revealed. Good players will be mostly fine, but will spend more time dealing with reinforcements than they would have if they just played more stealthy. That being said, there are some people who, when recruited, bring with them a unique weapon. I found plenty during my play session, and I won't spoil them all, but here's a hitman with an AK-47. Normally, taking on law enforcement in the open was a suicide, but as you can see, with the AK-47, I was tearing through them like a true psychopath. I had limited time with the game, but of course, the first thing I did was immediately go to the pub and test out just how many beers I could drink before hitting the floor. It was 7. 8 to pass out though, which is a lightweight. I didn't drink and drive though, like a champ. Driving feels great. It's a bit better on the controller than on the keyboard and mouse, but keyboard and mouse aiming was much better, so whichever you prefer. Driving a bus is extremely hard, but driving one of the electric cabs feels like a dream. You can drive and hack, bringing up barriers at checkpoints, moving traffic aside, or even disabling drones that are chasing you. Those agents with getaway driver abilities can even activate an ability to cause all traffic to move out of your way for a set amount of time, which you'll need because the map isn't small. At the same time though, it isn't that big. There is more than enough area to have a lot of fun in, but don't expect GTA 5. Sound-wise, nothing in particular stood out to me, but nothing was jarring. All characters have dynamic voices based on an original voice actor with a changed pitch. All agents are fully voiced, so you could have a team of agents all voiced by the same person, but sound slightly different. However, at times you could tell the enormity of the project. Sacrifices had to be made to have different random characters in cutscenes, so some responses are simple. Might be a yes or no or
Our little squad is finally coming into its own.
Hell yes.
or other very generic responses in situations that probably demand more. Hearing a European woman with an Indian accent was odd too, but hey, it adds to the whole collection aspect. So that's it for my preview. There's a lot more to cover with a game like this, but since I had limited time to play, I wanted to wait until I get my hands on the release version before I recommend the game. If the themes hold up and the missions don't get boring, we could be in for a great open world game, at least until Cyberpunk hits. If you want to know more, feel free to ask me in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to do the typical YouTube stuff like subscribing, and I hope to see you all again soon for more video game fun times.